Even if you gain, I should not lose. It doesn't matter. The degree of gaining may be different, but the degree of losing must be minimized to zero.
Where we are all equal.
Let's pray that this formula is passed, and we are asking our senators to stand with us and let this formula be passed.
Welcome to Proactive. I don't know if I can say episode 9 again, or I look for another different episode number to say, but we are here. I think we're on episode 9, right?
Yeah.
Tumefika mbali. Tumetoka mbali, by the way. Tumejaribu. It's been a good one. How have you been, Elsie?
I've been
Cool. Manze, kumenyesha. So, nikaa imetuambia tu we are done with this cold. Now we're going to get into a warm season, you know.
I hope so. Really hope so. I don't like it when it rains.
Why?
Because I don't like wearing jackets and sweaters.
Lakini hiyo ndio inatuletea chakula.
Yeah.
Elsie, you're a Telemundo fan. Kwani aujai kafika ile part ya scene yenye wana dancingi kwa mvua ama?
Hapana. I just don't like it when it rains, when it's cold and all that. My favorite weather is sunny weather.
I'm gonna drop a stereotype and go like spoken like a true Kisumu lady. Bad stereotype, eh?
Yeah, it's a bad one, but well.
Anyway, my week has been good. What's been happening this week? I haven't been very conversant na news.
This week, this week has been quite interesting. I believe what's really trending currently is Murathe.
What did Murathe do?
Murathe, I think he has been summoned for questioning over KEMSA. There's that. Of course, KEMSA is also trending with Kagwe telling the former KEMSA CEO to carry his own cross. We have Obado impeachment. You know, on the one hand, ODM, and I'm really glad ODM is taking responsibility for its leaders, because as a political party, I've always said, as a political party, ODM owes it to us, the Kenyans, to give to us Chapter 6 worthy leaders.
Yeah,
leaders of integrity.
But people also called out Sifuna for that, because they're not going after Ababu.
Yeah, so they're calling it double speak, because now ODM wants to have Obado impeached through the MCAs, but apparently when you go to Migori, they do not want the governor to be impeached. They're calling it double speak because, we have also Babu, who also did not act in accordance with Chapter 6 of the Constitution. So in case you're wondering what Chapter 6 is all about, probably you should listen to the previous episode.
Na hivyo ndio tunaji-advertising, you know. Kisumu County Government, again, I saw the place was on fire. The offices were on fire. I think it was yesterday or something.
I'm not aware.
So I'm not really sure about it. I'm not even going to speak.
Let me just mention this.
Yeah.
Now, you see the difference between Obado and Babu would be, well, Obado can be impeached by the MCAs. For Babu to leave office, he has to be recalled. And recalling is a process that involves the voters themselves, not MCAs or any other representative.
Interesting. That's why Sifuna is not going to say anything about that. People should know, by the way. Anyway, it's been a good one. Other than that, we've had an easy week. Nothing much. All right, let's go to our favorite part, where we talk about different... Well, it's our favorite, really. I'm not sure. Yeah? Let's talk about other podcasts on acute.co.ke. That's acute with a Q. Yeah. Today is Self-Reflections with Liz Marsh, you know. I haven't listened to this one also, but she just talks about like a lot of emotional intelligence, like emotional, physical, psychological, and social well-being. Last episode she did was just handling stuff during the COVID period, like how you just adjust. I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. In the eco on acute.co.ke on all platforms. Yeah. So this is another one we need to check out, you know. Self-reflections. Psychologically umekuwa sawa?
Psychologically, yeah.
Socially,
yes, I'm okay.
Emotionally,
I'm trying.
Nini COVID imekufanya change nini?
Manze, COVID thanks to COVID, I'm always home nowadays, and it's quite depressing to, not wake up to academic pressure. I was so used to academic pressure.
So this is a big change
now,
for you.
thanks to COVID, and because we're also not having online classes,
Uh-huh.
unlike maybe my other friends, now even studying is, you do it from the heart, out of your own initiative, but there's no pressure to submit such an assignment, to read for exams and all that. And I miss that pressure. I find that pressure exciting.
I should find out.
As much as it can be stressful sometimes.
Okay.
It's still
mtu anafaa find out from your colleagues. Your colleagues should listen to what you just said. Yani they're happy or they're on holiday alafu wewe umeangusha hiyo bombshell. Mimi nataka pressure. Yeah. So guys, check out Self Reflections by Liz Marsh on the podcast. Cute.co.ke on all platforms. Find out. Yani kidogo hadi nikuulize gym inaendeleaje. But let's get into it. That one is a topic for next time when we get someone else to tell us about hii wiki ni yako by way. Mimi sisemi mingi leo ni siku yako. Unajua leo nimekuwa leo nimekuja kukuwa informed. Mimi nimekuwa nikisikia hiyo conversation ya sijui we should look at the population ama we should look at sijui square meters za sijui land. Mimi nimechoka. So leo tunaongea.
Umechoka mapema.
Nimechoka
mapema because I don't know whether you have gone through the constitution, but you will notice that process does not end at the Senate. Once it's done at the Senate, it has to go to the National Assembly.
Exactly.
So it is such a process.
So I saw an article last night on the Daily Nation.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, I think it's those columns where people just express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But he was putting all the fault on the Senate. Like the senators have failed us.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the senators have failed us in terms
they
this
have.
county revenue allocation?
Yes, they have. Because they're taking too long discussing this thing when the constitution is clear.
Yeah. Do you think it's such... You made it look like... Unajua, umeshaifanya ikanika tumemaliza hata episode ya leo. It's done. They are the ones who are failing us. It's a very simple thing. They should just...
Because why are they dragging this thing? This should be their 10th week. This thing is at the Senate.
It's on week 10.
Week 10 at the Senate and nothing. So far, so good.
So,
why are we struggling to come to a consensus over something that is clearly provided for by the Constitution? Why?
So... This is now where you come into it, because I don't want to feed people with propaganda. So the Constitution, what has it provided for? And what are the senators not doing? That's the biggest question we're going to answer today. If we go with that direction and say, kuna venye senators wanatu waste. I think at some point also we'll discuss why population, why land, why is this mathematics not making sense. We have an article that David indeed does that will highlight some parts of it, talking of how he made the layman's draft of this chapter.
Yeah.
And we can tackle...
He was an advisor to the committee of experts.
Yeah.
And the committee of experts are the people who drafted the Constitution.
The Constitution, So once we get there, we can see what... but Ndi is always extra, man. At times, man, Ndi is those people who are really bright, but they always want to throw just a spanner in the works just to see what people will say.
He calls himself educated chokora.
But how do you, like... After the end of a whole article, unakuja unasema divorce is an option.
Divorce is an option. That one really broke my heart. I mean, come on. We're Kenya.
Anyway, let's start from the beginning. This is now where you take over. From 201, ask me, did you come with questions for me today?
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
Unless you want me to ask you whether you read the Constitution and whether you understood Article 204, 216... to 17.
Well, reading is one thing.
And understanding?
Understanding is another.
Okay.
Too many big words, And I'm thinking Constitution ya kila Mkenya, lakini zile vitu wanaongea hapa.
But do you understand the debate and why we have this debate?
Yes. Now that part I do understand. So maybe the biggest questions, maybe it's me to ask you these questions.
Mm-hmm.
What is the Senate missing out? Why is it taking this long?
Why is it taking this long? I think it's because, honestly, I don't understand the origin of this confusion at this stage. And I don't understand why suddenly they want to prioritize population over areas. Because if you are to go through the constitution, which we are just about to do so, you will notice that the constitution is very clear that we have to uplift the marginalized areas. Yeah, because I mean, it's normal that we have other parts of this country that are not as developed as other parts of this country that are considered to be privileged. I think I also mentioned this probably during the last episode or the other episode that Professor Makau Mutua once mentioned on his Twitter handle that, he interacted with a woman, and the woman was a woman from one of those northern Kenya areas, and the woman was, Upper Sea Kenya.
Yeah.
Kenya ni huko Nairobi.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is it that suddenly we want to, leave out the other areas that are considered marginalized, that are not as developed, that are not as populated, yet they're still part of Kenya? So, why do we want to give them a smaller share of the national cake?
This is what population now is in accordance to what this Moranga senator is campaigning for a lot, right?
Yeah. Actually, Central Kenya, Central Province, so the counties under Central Province are densely populated. That's a fact.
So, which will lead me to I'll ask you that question later. My second question is, why hasn't the equalization fund been implemented?
I have no answer for that. I will say just put the blame on your member of National Assembly.
So the member of National Assembly should have done something.
They should have done something. So, if you have the same member of National Assembly from 2013 to today, I don't know. There are people who probably lost and others came in at 2017. I don't know, but blame those people who are in the National Assembly between 2013 and 2017, and then 2017 to today. Because it is 10 years later since the promulgation of the Constitution, and there's no equalization fund. There are no signs of any equalization fund being established soon, other than whatever is provided for in the Constitution. And remember, if you're to read the Constitution in Article 204 on the equalization fund, it only had a limited amount of a limited period of time for it to operate. Because it was believed, the drafters of the Constitution, that is the committee of experts, they believed that assuming the equalization fund was brought to life almost immediately after the promulgation of the Constitution, then 10 years should have been enough to develop the marginalized areas. So 10 years should be enough, and from 10 years going forward, then the standing of those other counties will be not too far away from now the Nairobi and the Central Provinces, and probably
and
the
then
we
wouldn't see areas being densely populated, because people now would start moving to other regions to actually develop them.
So now 10 years down the line, no equalization fund, blame your member of National Assembly.
So there's a big problem there.
But you can also blame yourself for not being, holding him accountable, for not telling him, by the way, when you go there next time, please, equalization.
I'm coming to that. How, when it comes to revenue allocation, do you feel like public participation has been done?
No, I do not feel like public participation has been done, and that's, that is a gross violation.
Big one, eh?
The principles of public finance and the Constitution at large. Because I personally have not been consulted, but I don't know. I don't know whether it's because I'm just an ordinary Kenyan who knows nothing about finance.
I like how you always start, personally, I haven't been consulted. This is an area of expertise I have. Why haven't you consulted Elsie Manze?
But I also haven't had, friends that I know who have expertise in that field who've been consulted.
To be honest, no one knows where public participation is done.
Yeah, but I'm aware that professional bodies, I wouldn't say they've been consulted, but they've made submissions with regard to the matter. I learned yesterday that the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, ACPAK, they made submissions with regard to the matter, just to advise the Senate, because you see, your power is limited to advisory, recommendation, there's nothing. So the Senate is not bound to abide by your recommendations. And I think that's also the other problem we have with, I would say, why we have this problem right now. Why do we have this problem? Because the Commission on Revenue Allocation that is established by Article 216 and whose principal function is to advise the Senate and the Senate on revenue allocation between revenue division between the national government and the county government.
And the county government, yeah.
Their power is limited to recommendation. So it is not a must that the Senate abides or approves or accepts the recommendation from the Commission on Revenue Allocation. So now that's a problem, because now when we get to the Senate, we have our senators, but not all of them have expertise in finance and economics.
It's good also to mention where these
a few of them may have such expertise, but not all of them. We have lawyers there. Mine is an actuarist. My senator is an actuarist by profession. So
the CRA also is as experts who are picked from the parties that are there also.
Yes, so CRA is established by Article 216. It is composed of members nominated by political parties and plus the principal secretary of the Ministry of Finance. But these members who are nominated must be members who have expertise. Yeah.
But it still it still cuts out the part where it could be an independent body, because as much as you have expertise, you will only lean towards what your party wants, right?
It could be.
So it should be an independent body.
So what do you mean an independent body?
We should actually hire people as
not have political parties nominating
affiliations as such.
Yeah, but now the Commission on Revenue Allocation made the recommendation that it made independently. I don't think the nominated members went back to their parties.
I don't know how many there are. Maybe we need to go check that out.
Okay.
But I'm sure the ruling one had more numbers than the opposition.
But that's how it happens.
Yeah, and then
of course most of the time you'll find that it's the ruling party and the opposition that are represented.
So there'll never be an agreement.
The other parties are not exactly represented.
The ruling party will always have.
But I don't think they're always politicking even when they sit down as the Commission.
We don't know, but they'll always be told
or at least I've not heard.
I'd rather not have.
At least maybe they know how to hide dirty linen.
Hakuna haja ya kutuma mtu ako na agenda huko, unajua. Tuma tu an independent person as they are. Ndio akuja tuambie tu ukweli. I think that's interesting to learn. Another thing that we have to agree, as much as this revenue comes, we have seen how it's not being managed properly. Like, this is the conversation all over, Manze.
Yeah. Once upon a time, not too long ago, what was trending was that county governments were failing to pay the salaries of their staff, members of their staff. You get to learn that, so people from the staff members of this and that county have not had their salary for the last 4 months. It always shocks me.
Alafu, then we go buying wheelbarrows, sijui worth how much?
Wheelbarrows and biro pens.
And gates that will block you from entering hell,
Now you can see even money is being transferred to accounts of family members.
So the mismanagement of these funds also is making it frustrating even for us as the public.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to go back and just find out what are the key things, because chapter 12 is very large per se. Maybe we can't even cover it in a whole session, but we need to find some key things maybe we can take out from all articles in chapter 12, just to make sure people understand where their roles are. And I think one is getting what the work is for the county revenue allocation, where public participation comes into play, what we see now happening in the Senate, what is happening. And then people need to understand, you made a very key point, after the Senate bado inaenda kwa National Assembly.
Going to the National Assembly. So how can we be sure that once it gets to the National Assembly, it won't take another 10 weeks before they agree?
They agree, And then they might not even agree then what sumbue kichwa. So we need to think about those key parts.
This is something they need to sort out so quickly, because I saw, I think on Twitter recently, just this past week, that Governor Oparanya, I think he's the chair of the Council of Governors, he mentioned that, if the Senate does not make this decision quickly, the counties are going to suffer.
They have started suffering.
Oh, they have.
I read the article that I was reading was saying that's why
salaries are already delaying.
Yeah, they're starting to delay.
Oh no.
So
No.
this is just a ticking time bomb before everything breaks down.
Yeah, so the Senate really needs to hurry up because they, at least for them, their salaries do not come from the counties. They get their salaries from the revenue fund.
Let's finish first. Number one. Fight number one. Population ama land.
Population versus land. So it's important first for us to, the supreme law, the supreme law of Kenya actually makes provisions for whatever we're even discussing, how revenue should be divided, public finance. So now chapter 12, like you mentioned, on public finance, it starts with the principles that guide public finance under Article 2.1. So I'll just highlight the important ones, the ones that are relevant to this question of revenue division between the national government and the county governments.
Okay.
So under Article 201 that provides the principles, states that one, the following principles shall guide all aspects of public finance. Then it states that 201B, there's 201B, then one, states that one, the burden of taxation shall be shared fairly, but then that's not relevant. This is the most relevant. Revenue raised nationally shall be shared equitably among national and county governments. Yeah. And then the third one states that expenditure shall promote equitable development of the country, including by making special provision for marginalized groups and areas. Groups and areas. So there the question comes in, okay, population,
and
geography.
land.
But then you see it's very specific. My understanding is that marginalized groups and marginalized areas, they just avoided repeating the word marginalized.
Yeah.
But I think it's designed
to cover both marginalized
groups and marginalized areas. And you'll find that most of the time, marginalized groups stay in the marginalized areas. Who are the marginalized communities? See, they're the ones that we find in northern Kenya.
That's why they're marginalized.
Marsabit, Wajir, Mandera, whatever.
Yeah, it's true. So I've not seen a marginalized group in a non-marginalized area, and maybe they're somewhere around and we don't know, but it doesn't make sense. So what's the madness that's happening? Why is it that suddenly Moranga senator wants the people to be considered more than the marginalized geographical locations?
Well, it is also a fact that these areas that are densely populated have people who are I hope this doesn't come out wrong, but it has people who are more productive. These areas, like in our central Kenya areas, those are areas where farming is done. We have people who are farming and doing their best to make to make provisions, to make their contribution to the economy of the country is much more compared to the contribution of the people of the marginalized groups and areas. But then again, it's not the fault of the marginalized people in the marginalized areas that they cannot make contributions to the economy of the country.
Hao wengine walikuwa na kaboost walipewa.
Of course kuna kaboost, because by the time nimezaliwa Central Kenya, Nairobi, even
they've already Kisumu, become big towns.
There's I have access to quality education. Okay, wait. I don't say quality, the highest quality of education, but the quality of education I get, in Central Kenya is different from the quality of education that child who has been born in Marsabit will get for sure. The quality of healthcare I'll get from Nairobi is different from the quality of healthcare on the other side. So you see, because also the quality that I get, by the time I'm giving back to Kenya, I'll of course end up giving more than the person from regions. The margin.
We don't even have to go far. You just look at the 3 cities that we have. Like you can see Nairobi, here, Sawa, city for sure. Then you move out and you see Mombasa and Kisumu, and we're like, okay, like city now, really? City. How now?
Because I was in Kisumu last week.
Umetembea Kisumu na hujatuletea kitu yote.
Nilikuwa Kisumu last weekend.
So you can see the difference I'm saying. Like for sure you can see some places have been like people concentrated on them more before. And maybe this constitution is trying to now
So the constitution acknowledges that there are disparities in
Big
development
ones.
in
Big
the country.
ones, yeah.
And that is why the public finance chapter, that is chapter 12,
Yeah.
it is very, if you're to read through all of it, you'll see it's very intentional about bringing up, about uplifting the areas that have since the past. That have since the past been marginalized.
I mean, ever since
neglected.
Ever since 2010, or rather 2013, like I knew for sure now people would start moving away from Nairobi because now opportunities are growing.
Yeah.
On the other side, but now people like was continuing to flood Yani here. You look at places like, okay, I'm not gonna mention names. Where I was about to mention names, but you can understand Yani people are still flocking in many, in big numbers.
That's something that needs to change.
For sure. And now this is probably what was supposed to help it.
Yeah. So Article 202 is also very clear that revenue raised nationally. Revenue raised nationally. So all the revenue, all the income that the government of Kenya makes, so that is the revenue that is raised nationally, shall be shared equitably. Not equally. Equitably.
Sisa upatiane
among
difference.
the national and county governments. So there's always this debate, but this one is normally with regard to gender. When we women are saying we are equal to men, you're like, no.
Kumbe hata ilikuwa iende hapo.
No. I don't want to make it all about gender, but that is when the debate normally comes in about what is the difference between equally
and equitably. Yeah.
So equally will mean same. Since we are talking about revenue division, if every county is to get probably 2 billion, so 2 billion to every county. So some counties can, 2 billion is enough for them. And for other counties, there's so much more that needs to be done. And so they need more than 2 billion. So that's where equitably comes in. So the constitution is also clear on the criteria of even determining, what county should receive what amount of money. So equitably just goes on to define equitably by stating the functions. So under Article 203, it provides the criteria for determining equitable share. Yeah, that's what I will call it.
Yeah, and it has several,
Yeah. So this is what it says here. The following criteria shall be taken into account in determining the equitable shares. So not equal, equitable.
Yeah.
The national interest, a provision that must be made in respect of the public debt and national obligations, the needs of the national government determined by
objective criteria.
They need to ensure county governments, this is very important, they need to ensure that county governments are able to perform the functions allocated to them.
Okay.
Yes. Then the next, the fiscal capacity and efficiency of county government. The next one, developmental and other needs of counties. And then the next, economic disparities within and among counties, and they need to remedy them. Economic disparities between counties, and they need to remedy them. You see, the constitution is so clear.
It's so clear. So this is something
clear.
that just needs to. They just need to sit down and figure this out.
What people have been saying. In fact, I think Steve Ogola had an interview, the lawyer, and he's just saying, why are we even having this debate? The constitution is clear.
Has provided it, and it's very clear.
We cannot now decide from one day to the next. Okay, it seems that's the direction we are going, but it's not advisable. It will be unconstitutional for the Senate to decide from one day to the next. Now
we should actually be now telling them, hey, if you don't do this now, we'll have an issue with you.
Yeah.
I mean, have we been provided? Have we allocated somewhere we can actually get these guys out of that space? Can we remove senators at some extent? To some extent.
Since senators are members of parliament can be recalled. So I think for senators it should be the same. The same. But that's something I can confirm. I'm not saying that's the position. I can confirm.
Because it's very clear. Yani, this is not even something we should be having on the show. Clearly the constitution already says how it should happen. I mean, Part H even moves on and says affirmative action in respect of disadvantaged areas and groups. So disadvantaged areas, disadvantaged groups. There's no fight, Hapa.
So why are we having this debate, Timo? Why has this matter, this recommendation from CRA lasted for like 10 weeks now in the Senate? Counties are gonna suffer based on what I heard the chair of the Council of Governors stating.
Talking about, we mnatubeba ufala by the way. This is something that
jokes, because the position of the constitution is clear. So that's why if you watch the Senate, I've not watched it for the last 2 weeks because they've not even had anything. Okay,
yeah.
At least with regard to this topic, I've not seen anything.
I think everyone moved to the KEMSA debate.
Yeah.
So
you'll always hear them saying, okay, this county stands to gain more, this county stands to get 2 billion, this county stands to lose, and that's why they're struggling. So they want to come up with a win-win formula whereby counties.
This is not a point for win-win formula, manze.
Win-win formula, how? There are counties that are more advantaged than other counties, and the constitution is aware of that. The constitution is, it's alive to that fact.
Are these people just here trying to play us out and then do another thing they did like last time after 5 years? Like they're trying to play it out to see how long we'll be very tolerant to them. The constitution is providing everything necessary for them to actually work on it. I mean, we have not gotten to a point where everyone is playing at an equal level, and so it shouldn't even be a conversation of same share or anything of that sort. We should be focusing on equitability because it was provided there for a reason, so that people can actually catch up. And I agree with you. Hakuna venye niko na I don't know. I'm trying to look at a reasonable example to use. Unajua venye mtu ako na machungwa 5 alafu unataka kupatia kila mtu moja but it won't make sense. Yeah, I think that's this. Okay, interesting. Okay, moving. Mnatuwestia time.
So those are the principles that guide public. It's a principle, for Pete's sake. It's a principle
enshrined in our constitution.
Every time a senator is standing up to speak, with regard to that formula, they should have this in mind, that the constitution wants us to uplift the marginalized areas and groups.
And I always see them
and groups.
And anytime these people start talking, like the marginalized areas, before they even defend themselves, you'll just see even the mood itself, how it changes, because they're trying to just tell you guys, I mean, we're trying to get to your level, Bana, work with us.
Yeah, just allow us to get to your level.
It shouldn't be a case that they are pleading.
Who's to blame? And that takes me to the next article of the Constitution, Article 204 on the Equalization Fund that we had earlier mentioned.
Yeah.
The Equalization Fund, I think I have mentioned this in previous episodes. It is a fund that was established specifically to cushion and to bring up the marginalized areas. It is just for the marginalized counties.
Yeah. Equalization Fund is where the national government was to play their role also in making sure that these guys were being uplifted, right?
Yes. And it's even clear under Article 204 too that the national government shall use the Equalization Fund only to provide basic services, including water, roads, health facilities, and electricity to marginalized areas to the extent necessary to bring the quality of those services in those areas to the level generally enjoyed by the rest of the nation insofar as possible.
So far as possible.
So to bring basic services, to ensure that they get quality services that we get here in Nairobi. So the quality of electricity, roads and all that.
Are you excited about the quality in Nairobi?
See, because we stay in Nairobi, and Nairobi is it's the capital city, so it is the hub.
And the quality is not that good, by the way.
Why are you complaining? Trust me, what you have here is better than what...
That's what I'm coming to learn, manze.
It's better than what someone else is getting in Marsabit, and it's better than... fortunately or unfortunately, Timo, ulijipata tu pale umezaliwa. So, unaishi Nairobi. So, the development, someone else amezaliwa Marsabit, ameishi Marsabit, maybe amepata job wajia. Yani anajua to the marginalized areas. That's
scary, man.
Manze, it's unfortunate. So... The national cake. We call the revenue for the revenue that is raised nationally by the national government. That is what we call the national cake. What is Marsabit's share of the national cake? Wajia's share of the national cake? Turkana's share of the national cake? Yeah.
Until that point where we can say we are playing on level ground, it shouldn't be about an equal share. A level
playing field.
It should be an equitable share.
Equitable share.
Wow.
It should be an equitable share with regard to, those principles that I have highlighted under Article Article 203.
203, what we were talking about. Yeah.
The criteria, based on that criteria. Yeah.
I mean, we didn't even finish the criteria, but the criteria set out there are so important because now, like, if you just go through them, unaanza kuona, hey. Okay, kuna vitu mingi hawajafanya. We didn't even touch on 203 part 2 where they talk about the equitable share of the revenue raised nationally that is allocated to county government shall be not less than 15% of all revenue collected by the national government. Has someone done the calculation and understood what percentage is actually being given? Is it enough?
I haven't done it, but I believe it should be.
They'll play. You see, it says not less than 15%.
So it has to be more than 15%.
Yeah.
And I think that is where the Commission on Revenue Allocation comes in, because it is the body that is it is a commission that is charged with the mandate of ensuring, of advising the Senate. So by the time they are advising the Senate, I'm sure they've already, and because it's a commission that is composed of experts, though nominated by political parties, but experts nonetheless, with extensive experience in economics and finance.
Unawagasap, kwani plan ni gani hapa?
Hapana, mimi si plan you know.
Last time ulikata,
I'm just not a lawyer, I'm not even a finance expert.
Hivi ndio CV yako inakage kitengenezwa. Nimekuona sana siku hizi. But I get you. I mean, my question there was just, what percentage really are we being given? Because they've just provided. Yeah, we should have calculated, because they're just saying not less than 15%. But it's good also to learn. Maybe we're just being given 15.5.
15.
Just to meet the threshold.
Yeah.
And we need to find out. Is the national government working with us to actually make sure that this thing is happening, or they're just playing as according to the books? We need to do that calculation and see. And then also, it shall be calculated on the basis of the most recent audited accounts of revenue received as approved by the National Assembly.
Yeah.
I don't know how good the audits are.
Yeah, we have the Auditor General who does the audits.
And the Auditor General has had issues.
The office.
Yeah.
But finally we have an Auditor General. I think it's a lady. It's a lady. I just had to mention that it's a lady. We'll just come to do this 2/3 rule very soon. I see what you're always trying to do here. But yeah, those were actually things that I looked at it and then I was like, haya, tumemit to threshold hapa before hata tuanze kuongea vitu mingi. Is the national government actually helping? And that's when it comes back to 204. Now 204 has provided like a big portion, like 9 parts, explaining all these things. And I think it's important. I think we have overemphasized on the equalization fund. So by now our listeners already know we have an equalization fund.
Yeah.
And they know that it's just to bring up the marginalized counties and marginalized groups and areas. That is how the Constitution puts it.
It's true. We who have been enjoying this should actually be the ones now fighting for them and advocating that they get something.
I think it's also important now to mention Article 204(6). That states that this Article 204 lapses 20 years after the effective date. The effective date is 27th August 2010, when the Constitution was promulgated.
What?
So it has been 10 years. So I will say that our government still has 10 more years. 10 more years.
Before this.
Or should I say 9 years? Because we celebrated the 10th anniversary. Just, was it last week?
Let's clarify. Is it 2010 or 2013?
2010.
But this thing took effect in 2013. It was only promulgated in 20... Promulgation is 2010.
Okay.
Coming into effect is 2013. Because under the Kibaki DD, it wasn't playing a role. We knew that with the new government coming now, that's when it would be take now. It's inaitangwa nini? The change will now happen. Like that's when we would see it now taking into effect. So I knew, we need to discover then again, it's lapsing after 20 years. Does that mean from 2010 or from 2013? Because now I'm a bit worried.
Effective date. Okay, I think we need to understand that. My understanding of effective date, yes. According to Article 263 of the Constitution of Kenya, on the effective date, the Constitution shall come into force on its promulgation by the President or on the expiry of the period of 14 days from the date of publication in the Gazette of the final result of the referendum ratifying this constitution.
How is
whichever
this
the
thing
earlier.
going to lapse when
Meaning
people
the
haven't done?
effective date is 27th August
2010.
So this, according to
How
Article
is
204,
this?
this article, equalization fund, basically,
It's just about to lapse with 10 years of nothing.
we have 10 more years. So it was supposed to stay for 20 years. I think, let me just correct myself, because earlier on I had mentioned it's 10 years. No, it was supposed to last for 20 years. So during those 20 years, I think the drafters of the constitution, the committee of experts, believed that with 20 years, now 2030, that would be 2030.
Yeah.
2030, the roads, the quality of healthcare, the quality of education, the quality of basic services in Marsabit, in Wajir, will be akin to the quality of services in Nairobi.
What?
So 10 years, the equalization fund has not been established. There are no plans. There's no discussion at all about the equalization fund. Zero. I have not had. I don't know, maybe it's because I don't check the parliament portal, maybe to check whatever they discuss. But I've not had anything about the equalization fund. Zero. Not even from my own parliamentarian.
But even from the Senate, they have been saying, like, this fund hasn't been effective.
Yeah.
Like, it's
So
not something...
what are they telling us? What are the plans? When are they planning now to sit down and discuss it and make it effective? Yeah.
When we only have 10
Whose
years.
role is it to make it effective then?
What happens when it lapses? What happens after 20 years?
Well, the drafters provide under Article 204, Article 204(7), that Parliament may enact legislation to suspend the effect of Clause 6. So Clause 6 is the one that provides that it can lapse. But so Parliament can come, so assuming 2030, so 2029, and then the parliamentarians realize, oh my God, equalization fund has never been established. We need to do something. So they can come up with a legislation to postpone the effect of Article 6. That means they can keep it active.
People, we need to be careful.
Why should they do that? Why should they do that? See, they can just establish that fund even as early as now.
As now, it's true. Why are they playing around with it? People,
why should they wait for 2029 so that they can enact a legislation to suspend the effect of Clause 6?
And you know, this is what you think they would do if we raise enough voice. Maybe they would pick it up, like, after that, to be like, this fund was not even supposed to be there, like, just let it slide.
So what does that mean? That other counties, other areas in Kenya are not entitled to a fair share of the national cake?
Watu wa Mungu, hebu chagueni watu wako na adabu, kwa sababu wanaweza kaamulia watu wengine kuende tu vibaya. Like, they would serve their interest, the interest. And you know, they go in there like serving the interest of their people, their region.
Anyway, from there we go now to Article 215.
That was a bad bombshell, Yani. And you
part
hear
4.
moving, and you just move like that to another article, Yani. After finding out that people, like...
Are you holding your member of National Assembly accountable? Yes, Timo?
I haven't, to be honest. This is so sad. What?
But at the same time, I will blame the institution, the Ministry of Finance, because... You know, when that, okay, I think they do, public participation does take place. So probably we are not intentional enough to take part in the public participation forums for the budget. You know, we're supposed to take part in public participation to contribute to how we want the counties to budget, or how we even want the national government to budget on the revenue that it has.
Yeah,
So,
I always felt like...
through public participation, I think we can now, you know, hey, where is the 0.5%? Article 204(1) provides that it's 0.5%.
Who do we get into these chambers of when it comes to public participation? Because I don't feel like it's always about everyone should come if they want. But the experts who are sent there, but they need to serve.
Of course, experts are sent there.
But they serve the interest of the people. I feel like now they serve the interest of individuals.
Individuals? How?
Kwani ni uongo. Look, 10 years have been there, they've passed, nothing has been done. There's an individual somewhere serving their own interest. I mean, this is a whole article in the Constitution, and it might just die off as it is.
So far, so good. What do you see? The Constitution is clear.
We
the
should.
spirit of the Constitution, the letter of the Constitution, all those fancy words that the advocates like to use. It is very clear.
It's clear, to be
that
honest.
marginalized areas and groups must be brought up. So why are we then talking about one man, one vote, one shilling?
1 shilling. That's not a conversation we should be
One
having.
man, one man in Marsabit is equal to 3 men in Nairobi, 3 or 4, even 10, because we are densely populated here, they're sparsely populated in those areas. So it means they're going to get less in terms of revenue.
As this part where I'll say, like, people who are in densely populated areas, we need to get to a point where we are not selfish. I feel like we have become a selfish nation.
Because they're still our brothers.
For
They're
sure.
our fellow Kenyans. My
They
fellow Kenyans, people are tired of hearing my fellow Kenyans. Those
Tumechoka.
are our fellow Kenyans on that side. Hata kama sijafika huko bado, mi sijaienda Marsabit.
Manze, inile.
Huko, so I can't exactly say kuna kaa.
Barabara gani na kuitikisha ufike huko?
But I think kuna barabara mzuri ya Marsabit. I don't know.
Alafu, main road, kuingia huko kwingine. Unadhani the same na kuingia estate yenyu?
Hapana, sidhani.
In ile episode nachoka tu. This is those ones. Like half the time I'm just getting tired of people with... let me just say this. Before we even move on to 15 to 16, we just need to stop being selfish. Our brothers are hurting there. And we've had enough. Like, we've been eating properly. It doesn't hurt us to let someone else, like, catch up.
Yeah.
We've been the more privileged kids. In your group of schools, ndio sahi wako kwa hizi polling stations in terms of schools,
Yeah.
Hata shule zao ni chini ya mti surely.
By the way, that's a very embarrassing situation.
I really want to wake up and fight for my brother right now. That's what I think. My brother in Marsabit, my sister in Marsabit, who hasn't had this portion. Like, water for them is just another story.
Let me ask you. See, these places, those people living there, they also have elected representatives. They have elected representatives. They have MCAs. They have governors. They have members of parliament. They have senators. Why is it that none of them has ever pushed their representatives to come now back to the national government and push for the establishment of the fund, equalization fund, in accordance with Article 204? Si hata wanajiangusha.
Lakini pia si atuwateteangi.
Okay, fine. Of course, now their voice will not be as loud as ours.
They don't walk in. Like, the moment they walk into that room, they've already even been marginalized in that National Assembly ban.
Yeah.
I mean, if I am a representative in Nairobi, I should even fight for them. Like,
yeah,
if they raise their voice and I support them and I say, yeah, sure. I mean, we've had, like, a good time. Like, take this extra. It doesn't make sense for me. Acha nijifunge ndio nyi mpate bana mtufikie. And in the sense, itanisaidia because people will start moving now away. Like, there'll be opportunities and jobs will come up. History ya kufinyana si wote Nairobi sijui tunakagaka ushaona pipeline na Githurai yani wewe.
Sindio simi upitia huko Githurai nikienda KU.
So imagine tukianza kumove watu hata away from this space yenye tuna squeeze hapa. Tunaanza kukanika yenyewe tuna make sense. Development inakuja in other regions na zina create opportunities for people. Na history ya kushindanga tumefinyana Nairobi tukishauta hakuna kazi. Ingekuwa story different. 22:15 leo ni kuchoka. Leo to this episode.
So on Article 215 and 216 fall under Part 4 of Chapter 12. So Part 4 is on revenue allocation, what we are discussing. So Article 215 establishes the Commission on Revenue Allocation. This one we've already mentioned, but of course it has a chair who's appointed by the president. So a chairperson, and of course people nominated by political parties from the National Assembly, from the Senate, Principal Secretary, Ministry of Finance. And then it is very clear that these people who are members of the Commission on Revenue Allocation must have extensive professional experience in financial and economic matters.
Oh, okay.
Meaning by the time they're coming up with this formula or this basis or whatever this recommendation is, the Constitution puts it, by the time inafikia Senate, this is expert opinion. And you get to the Senate, not every senator anaelewa hii stuff. Hata mimi kusema ukweli.
Umeanguka mtihani leo.
Kusema ukweli, my understanding is limited to what the constitution provides.
For sure.
It's not, I don't get into the technicalities of, no, not just calculate kama what they're even fighting over is 15%. I really wasn't concerned. But someone with professional experience in finance and economics, someone who's curious, maybe alisha calculate akaona if 15.2%.
If you're here and if you're listening and you're a financial expert or analyst, hit us up, manze. Some conversations we need to have with you guys, and you can explain to us more. Acha nikwambie pali leo hauko unajua, maybe this one will add more sunshine to your day today. The chairperson is a lady.
It's a lady. Wow, nice.
Yes, Dr. Jane Kiringai. She's a chairperson, and she's vast.
Doctor, unasikia doctor. Professional, extensive.
Is it zile part nafikaga nasema si sorry. And she the work experience, worked with the World Bank.
Worked with the World Bank?
Yeah.
Check that out.
Yeah. And
by the time they are sending this recommendation to the Senate, saki kudharau senators wetu hata wamesoma na wamefika.
I agree.
But they're from different areas, different fields. So sometimes, I don't know whether they also get other finance experts to advise them, because someone mentioned to me that, these people are even wasting our time because ati mtu akaniambia LC, trust me, our senators hata hawajasoma hiyo formula, hawajaielewa. So, to understand such a recommendation, such a submission from the Commission on Revenue Allocation, you will need that technical
ability to do.
Which not everyone is, we have different interests. Hata mimi, that's not my interest. Mambo finance, not really my thing. Yeah, but there are people when you wanapenda your stuff. Mathematical people
can counting. Break it down for people so that Kenyans can understand better. Yeah. So
now someone was telling me, the senators are even wasting our time because most of them don't even understand this.
For sure they don't.
So that's the question. Do they understand it? Because mimi kama LC, I've not taken time to go through the breakdown of everything.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, that's you, and even me, sasa hata ni was, manze. I'm like, hey? This is coming to learn new things, man. Okay. We see their functions, they have
and Article 216.
Yeah.
And I think what's important to highlight is the principal function of the Article 216.1. Principal function of CRA is to make recommendations concerning the basis for the equitable sharing of revenue raised by national government.
People, if you're in studio, gonna venye nimefanyiwa shadow mado. Like I was the one who did it wrong. Equitable sharing of revenue raised by the national government. And it's between the national and county governments and among the county governments.
Yeah.
We also need to trust the work that the commission is doing.
Yeah.
I think
these guys are experts.
I agree. Maybe what the commission needs to do is break it down further and explain it in a layman's way to a normal Kenyan, because now Kenyans don't understand what's happening in the Senate. But if the CRA would produce something that makes a little bit of understanding, unajua, yes, you're an expert, and maybe the expertise will not help, like the technical stuff won't be understood, but there's a way you can make this the recommendations that you have become understandable to the common mwananchi.
Yeah.
That's why I think.
But they will have done us a lot of favor if somebody, just even if it's one person from the community, wakubaliane tu mtu mmoja saa kuje explain as the ordinary Kenyans, this is exactly what
and it doesn't have to be a
so
sit down.
So that we understand why are the senators debating the way they're debating, how much are they fighting over. So yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a sit down at you kuje public address mpaka inekwa breaking news. Just an interview on media. Sorry.
I went the extra mile of Googling, and I was able to download the proposed third basis of revenue allocation. From the Commission on Revenue Allocation. But again, like I said, mi nikishaona hapo numbers
manumbers zenye umeweka hapo manze
I'm done. But I know when as Commission of Revenue Allocation makes this recommendation, they do it in accordance with they are guided by the principles of public finance highlighted in Article 201, the criteria established in Article 203 and all that. Equitable. Yeah,
and that's the biggest conversation now. Whether, I mean, for us Kenyans now, we would be able to point out if they actually like broke it down and explained it to us. It would have been nice now to ask, is this equitable enough? Because the conversation wouldn't be, is this equal or equitable? It would be, is this equitable enough for even the marginalized areas to develop?
So this is what they're calling the consultation draft from the Commission on Revenue Allocation. I can see Nairobi City with a population of 3 million. Yeah, no population according to 209 census. Of course, things have changed.
Yeah, for sure.
So, the third basis, the one that they are currently debating on. No, this information is too technical.
Ukianza kuingia huko tutaita mtu. We'll get someone.
An expert.
We'll get an expert to break it down. I think people need to know what's happening on the documents and also try break it down. And I've said, like, extended that courtesy, like, if you're out there and you're listening to the show and you can break it down for us with what the experts have done, hit us up. We'll be more than glad to have a conversation with you and find out what's really happening when the experts wanatuongelesha.
Yeah.
Let's cause
actually it's stated clearly under Article 216.3.
Yeah.
That is the one that on the functions on the revenue the functions of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. In formulating recommendations, the Commission shall seek to promote and give effect to the criteria in Article 203. You see, they have to be guided by the criteria.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think with that we've highlighted most of the constitution. Maybe now to go to Article 217 that says that the recommendation goes to the Senate. The Senate has to approve. Yeah. And so it highlights the whole process. You know, the Senate once every 5 years, Senate shall by resolution determine that basis, and then in determining it has to consider the recommendation of CRA. But then it's a recommendation. That's why you can see them making amendments, yeah? They're making amendment after amendment after amendment.
Yeah.
So they don't have to take that recommendation as it is. They can make amendments.
I'm just shocked that we'll go to the National Assembly again, and then they'll take
even
another...
me, I was surprised. So we'll go back to from the Senate, ikitu inaenda to the
National Assembly. But uzuri ni within 60 days.
Yeah.
Kama they do not vote on the resolution within 60 days, it's regarded as having been approved.
Yeah. Then there's 217. Okay, 217.2D talks about, the Senate must invite the public, including professional bodies, to make submissions to it on the matter. So, who has been invited? If you know someone, can let us know.
If you were invited, please.
You're invited to make submissions on the matter.
Please let us know what you went and said.
Professional bodies. Me, I've only mentioned ACPA because I had. Now, I don't even know if it's true. Me, nilisikia tu. I don't know whether it's true, but yeah.
Hey, okay. This is those days. We have less than 5 minutes and even to wrap up. And just... I don't know where we start from. We haven't even touched on the annual division and allocation. That's on 218. 219 just talks about the transfer of equitable share. I mean, we haven't even done enough.
Emphasis on equitable, yeah? This constitution is really emphasizing on equitable. So why are we debating? Why are we saying 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling? That is not equitable. That is not the meaning of equitable.
Some selfish bastard who woke up in the morning and decided he won't be kind anymore. Yeah. You know yourself. I don't need to point you out. Came up with that proposal from a selfish point. Go sit at the corner and think about what you're saying. Leo, the number of times nimechoka leo. Just understanding what we are going through and people being selfish about it and not understanding that the constitution itself says this whole chapter 12 is just basically telling me, Timo, you've been selfish for a while. Stop being selfish now.
No, but why are you selfish, you, Timo, really?
To some extent I was, because I allowed some things to continue,
And you
because
kept quiet.
And I kept quiet because they were
to the disadvantage, to the detriment of your brother and Marsabit
and I only saw it because it was benefiting me.
Yeah.
So I'm at fault also. Me, I don't like blaming others. If I know for sure, if I let it slide, maybe it was a lack of knowledge, but now that I am knowledgeable about what's happened,
you are appraised with what the Constitution provides.
Like that word sounds much better. Eh? Now that I'm appraised with what it's actually saying, now I know if I continue to let it continue happening, I'm just being a bit selfish.
Yeah.
These people need to grow. These people need to get to a point where I can feel comfortable moving from Nairobi to Marsabit, not because I'll feel like I'm in a hardship area, but because I'm moving to a different city for...
But they come to think of it, those areas are called hardship areas.
They're always hardship areas, My brother in Marsabit should not feel like they live in a hardship area. We should be really getting to that point where there's a lot of development in Marsabit that by the time I'm moving to Marsabit, I see an opportunity arising.
Yeah.
And one industry will build another industry, will grow. Like I look forward to a 5-star in Marsabit, because I love swimming, so swimming would be a 24/7 thing. Yani weather doesn't change and scare me like Nairobi. You get to the swimming pool at 2 and then by 3 it's starting to rain. Hujafanya kitu. You're so frustrated. So this is basically telling us, tumekuwa wachoyo for a while. I don't know. This is your day. You're the expert. Wewe umenichapa tu na mabom leo.
Simesikia hata me have acknowledged.
We are all in the journey of appraisal.
Yeah.
But you have an upper hand than I have because you know the Constitution, what it says. The way you have rolled that neck leo, ukiniambia equitable, nimekubali. Been a bit selfish, manze. And I agree some things need to change for sure. Anyway, final words. Today is your show. What do you think? Is there something that you feel like we haven't touched on that you think we should do in the next episode?
No, I think I've expressed my heart, everything that I had to say with regard to the revenue division formula. The Constitution is clear. Yeah, it is a phrase that you will hear every so often. Your Honor, the Constitution is clear. So in this case, the Constitution is very clear under Chapter 12. In fact, forget Article 204, forget Article 212, whatever, Article 201. Principles that should guide public finance. Equitability. Yeah.
We need to say, hii pesa ikikuja huko chini, when you finally get that money and you're in charge of that money, do as you are supposed to do.
Do as you're supposed to do.
If the people asked for certain things, make sure. Don't start dividing it into shell accounts just to benefit yourself.
Yeah.
The stewards that you put in these counties and these marginalized areas need to be accountable, need to be transparent.
But also, these people from these marginalized areas, I feel like, in my opinion, they are also failing in case they are not pushing their leaders to push for the establishment of the equalization plan. Or even right now, when we're having this debate, most of the people who are speaking from those areas are the representatives. I've not heard, as the youth of the Marsabit County, this is our position regarding that. They need to come up.
Elsie, they didn't have a voice. We wake up in Nairobi. We have an opportunity to come to the studio and fight for our rights.
Yeah.
They don't have that opportunity. They need to go look for water. They have basic needs that they're still struggling to find. It's not all of them for sure, but majority of them are still struggling to find basic needs. So I don't really want to
you really don't want to blame them. You have to take all the blame.
I really want to defend them. Not even take the blame. Like really say like, hey, what are you doing? Why are we having this food here and their guy and my neighbor is starving? Let's take this cake.
The national cake.
Let's take the national cake.
The size of the cake.
Yeah. There's no need. I mean, me nikisha kwa obese nita explode, and that's what Nairobi is heading
to.
Ni sawa. I have influenced you enough. That was a good one. Those bombshells. Actually,
Actually,
Yeah.
actually, obese in terms of obesity. Yeah, we are obese as Nairobians.
Nairobi, we are obese.
Central, a bit of
We're
Western.
about to explode for sure.
Nakuru, tuko sawa.
Yeah. See, I don't know for kwanza
And so
kuwork
the
out.
other people are emaciated.
Yeah.
Emaciated.
I see how you be very careful.
We
Sorry,
need to.
my Mount Kenya influence has become very large. But yeah, so the stewards that are given these things and this money, use that money to grow these people. It's important for them to catch up. And so stop buying wheelbarrows worth 400,000, surely.
Yeah, I think that's a topic for another day.
That's a topic for
one
another.
is revenue division, but once it gets into the counties, what happens? They buy wheelbarrows, they transfer funds to the accounts of family members.
We'll get there.
Story for another day.
And people need to defend it. Well, guys, it's been an amazing session today. This one has just made me a frustrating one. You can hear the number of heaves I've had on the mic by the time we were done with it. But it's time you guys start defending your brothers and sisters who are your neighbors. Anyone? I will quote the good book that says when the man from Bethlehem was asked, who is your neighbor? He gave a nice story. And I remember in CRE, the only answer you were being asked, who is your neighbor? It wasn't the person next door. You always answered CG. It was usually number C. Like it was always option C, where anyone who is in need is your neighbor. Acute on all platforms. Acute with a Q.co.ke. Elsie sema bye tumalize.
Kwaherini, it's been amazing.
Cheers, guys.